Hello and welcome back to another episode of Age Better, where each week we take a deep dive into all the ways we can feel better, look better, live better, and yep, age better. I'm your host, Barbara Hannah Grufferman. Today we're diving into a topic that's been hidden in the shadows for way too long, menopause. But this episode is about so much more than hot flashes and mood swings. We're exploring how this life stage impacts all women and why it's high time to bring this conversation out into the open. Joining me is someone who's made it her mission to empower women in midlife, Denise Pines. Denise is an age enthusiast. I love that term. I'm going to start calling myself an age enthusiast, a longtime community health advocate, and a true pioneer in media and wellness. She founded WisePause Wellness, a platform dedicated to pro-aging health, education, and workplace initiatives. And she's the driving force behind the FemAging Project, which supports innovations designed specifically for women over 40. Denise is also the co-founder and CEO of Tea Botanics, where she created hot flash tea to help women manage their menopause symptoms naturally. And if that wasn't enough, she's a true Renaissance woman. If that wasn't enough, she's the president of the Osteopathic Medical Board of California and a past president of the Medical Board of California. She has produced 12 documentaries through her production company, Women in the Room Productions, including Birthing Justice, which tackles the Black maternal health crisis in America. Her latest project, which we're going to be talking about today, is called The M Factor, Shedding the Silence on Menopause. It's a groundbreaking documentary that opens up the conversation on menopause like never, ever before. It premieres on PBS all across the country on October 17th, just in time for World Menopause Day, which is October 18th. And it's packed with insights from top doctors, workplace advocates, and real women's stories that shine a light on the gaps in healthcare, and oh gosh, there are so many, and the cultural stigmas surrounding menopause. So why should you listen? Well, because whether you're in the middle of menopause, past it, like me, or just want to support the women in your life, this episode is filled with information and inspiration that will help you advocate for yourself and for others. Denise has some real eye-opening stories from the making of the film that might just change the way you think about menopause forever. So you know what to do. Grab your earbuds, lace up your sneakers, and take me with you on a heart-healthy walk while we get into this game-changing conversation. And get ready to age better. Stay tuned.
Most tax pros leave a message.
It's Jane. I'm moving on to a TurboTax expert who beat your price. Adam Devine, tell him how I feel.
Hey, tax pro, she's been thinking twice. Best believe TurboTax will beat your price. This is a tax break.
Switch to a TurboTax Live expert and we'll beat what you paid your pro last tax season. Make the switch at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice. TurboTax full service only. Sign up by 12/20/2024 and file by 4/1/2025. Full details at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice.
This episode is brought to you by Atlassian. Atlassian makes the team collaboration software that powers enterprise businesses around the world, including over 80% of the Fortune 500. With Atlassian's AI-powered software like Jira, Confluence, and Loom, you'll have more time to do the work that matters. In fact, Atlassian customers experience a 25% reduction in project duration per year. Unleash the potential of your team at Atlassian.com. Atlassian.
Hello, Denise, and welcome back to Age Better.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be back.
We have a lot to talk about, and today we're going to be talking about a new documentary that you're behind called The M Factor. I am so excited. It is so necessary. I'm like, what took so long? But okay, you finally did it. And so let's get right into it.
Okay.
So you produced a lot of documentaries. How many documentaries so far?
This
How many?
is the 13th.
Isn't that crazy? Okay.
Crazy. I can't even believe it.
Yeah. So yay to that. And they're really all focused on helping women for the most part.
Yeah.
And that's really great. And we thank you for that. Okay. So let's talk about the M Factor. What inspired you to decide to pull together a group and produce The M Factor, which focuses on menopause. What inspired you?
Well, one, my own personal journey, right? So prior to me getting a hot flash, I've been in the entertainment business, producing TV shows and radio programs and documentaries. And then one day, minding my own business, I get a hot flash. And that turned me into recognizing how I was so unprepared. And I wear another hat. I've been in medical regulation for 15 years now. And during this time, I think I was maybe vice president or president of the Medical Board of California. And I thought, how is it that I have this incredible access to any doctor in our state, but I'm shocked that I just got a hot flash? That should not have happened. I should not have had that sort of response. And so fast forward, it led me into this journey from working with my doctor to sort of address this naturally through tea botanics and a series of teas for menopause, to doing an event for women where I bring doctors together to provide them with evidence-based information in an all-day sort of conference summit experience, to then doing something called the FemAging Project, where I wanted investors to stop thinking menopause was a niche market and to understand what was the viability of the market and what was it that the solutions that women really wanted. So work to do research reports, to do pitch competitions with one of the largest angel investment networks in the entire world. And then I was like, I'm a filmmaker. Let's do a film. So 4 years ago, I started this journey, and I remember going out, and I'm not going to name any names, to some of the streamers to talk to them and some bigger producers to talk to them about doing a film on menopause. And what was so interesting was they would say to me, who's going to watch that? And I'm like, half the population, women, really more like 50%
for starters.
For starters. Second, every woman is going to go into menopause.
Every woman.
Every woman. I said, not every woman is going to have symptoms that are disruptive, but most of them are going to have symptoms, and they may or may not be disruptive. But they are, in fact, going to go into menopause, and just could not get any traction. And so then COVID hit, like right when I was doing that, then we go into COVID. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, what is it? A couple million women go into menopause every year, 6,000, 7,000 a day. What is happening to those women? If you did not have COVID, your doctor, the hospital, you could not show up anywhere. So those women, we're not even talking about the suffering that those women have been dealing with because they got no help and no treatment, because they could not be seen by the healthcare system because of the pandemic crisis. So that is really kind of how the film eventually came about. I have done a lot on PBS and went to them. And, it took about 18 months. Then finally, their leadership was a menopausal age woman and said, let's go for it, Denise.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how we sort of went on to this journey.
And isn't it interesting that you were mentioning the timeline that, we all now recognize that the celebrities that got involved in the menopause discussion very openly and publicly really has helped to foster the conversation and open it up.
I would say it has helped. But before that fever was really, I have to honestly give it to, I would say, sort of Gen X kind of coming into this and realizing that there wasn't any solutions. Doctors didn't know how to help them, and they got frustrated and they started taking things in their own hand and doing startups. Women who are of age, who work for the New York Times, started having their own issues, started looking and realizing there's this lack of information. And the New York Times did a great job on just kind of putting out a series of articles. Not that the articles...
I agree. They were great.
They
and
were great.
Ongoing.
And I don't think it was a strategy, because if it was a strategy up front, we would have heard like, we're going to do a series on menopause. It was that each person, the first person who was bold enough to do a piece, then inspired like another person who took a perspective, right? So someone took the perspective of the money and did menopause is a gold rush, right? Then someone took a
Yes, that
perspective
was a
of
good one.
that
That
was
was
a
a good
great
one.
one.
Mm-hmm.
And that caught people's attention. Anything about
Mm-hmm.
money will capture people's attention, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
the next one was around doctors, the lack
Yeah.
of knowledge that doctors have. And the writer had
And
experienced
training.
that.
Even doctors who are in that space, if you
Yes.
will, who are OBGYNs, right?
Well,
Or
what people don't
endocrinologists.
understand, if
Mm-hmm.
I studied to be an OBGYN, you know why I studied it? Because I wanted to deliver babies, not work with aging women. So
Right.
I think that it's a
Okay.
misnomer that all OBs know how to help menopausal women. They don't. Only really 25% of OBs know how to do that.
That's right.
More now are starting to educate themselves because they in fact are aging and their patient population is aging. That patient population still wants to stay with them. And so now they're cranking up their knowledge, right?
Right. Right.
It's been sort of this like combination, all those things happening, and then poof, the
Yep.
first few celebrities willing to be public about it,
And
right?
quite a few of them, too.
Oh yeah.
So that's been a very interesting thing. And I want to talk about one aspect of your film, which
Okay.
I really am so excited about, is to highlight the disparities among very often faced by Black women and brown women, women of color.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't think anyone is getting the attention they deserve or the knowledge they deserve
Yeah.
or the treatment that they deserve. But this is particularly true for women of color. So,
Yes.
how do you, first of all, why is that? And second, how do you hope that the M Factor documentary is going to address that?
Good question. So women of color are typically left out of the menopause conversation. This has been more of a white women rallying call. And we wanted to make sure that all voices were covered. So we wanted to hear, how are Black women experiencing menopause? How are Latino women experiencing menopause? I mean, no matter their social or economic status, they are honestly treated differently in healthcare system. And this is factual. So, there's no way to, we're not to have to dispute it because, my last film showed, it was called Birthing Justice, about the Black maternal health crisis. And it showed that women who are educated, have great jobs, and Black are treated like women who don't have white women who don't have a high school graduation certificate. And so we saw that. So we know that sort of, it doesn't matter whether you're going for delivering a baby or you're going in for menopausal experiences, that sort of reality and statistic really is factually there. So we
Mm-hmm.
wanted to see how that played out in menopause care and the access simply to OBGYNs. There are only 25,000 OBGYNs in the country. Only 25% have any knowledge around menopausal care. That means we have states where maybe less than 50% have OBGYNs. And most times, if you're in rural areas, you have none, right?
Right.
None at all. You might have to travel 200, 500 miles for
Yep.
that
That's
kind
why
of care.
this whole slew, as you know, the slew of telehealth, if you will, menopause companies that are offering kind of like they pair you with the appropriate menopause specialist or even a PA and to get you the right treatment and diagnosis and so on and so forth. I mean, there's more access now, wouldn't you say?
Yes, I definitely agree that there's definitely more access to this care. It's still not enough care, right?
No,
And I need to be able to go, all the telehealth costs money. So I need to be able to
that's
go
right.
to my doctor where I already have my insurance or I'm already covered by Medicaid or Medi-Cal. And I need to be able to have that doctor understand menopause and to be able to support me. I'm excited about telehealth options. And I know a lot of
But
corporations
it's
are,
not for everyone, as we
yeah,
know. It's not.
it's not, it's, yeah, again, because it's a cost factor, right? in order to take advantage of the telehealth.
And it's a trust factor too, I really think. I mean, there are so many people out there who don't really like dealing with the medical community anyway, and then to engage with someone that you're not even meeting ever, possibly in real life, it really could be a barrier.
Especially
right?
for care that's really sensitive, like
Yes.
one, vaginal care. I'm sorry, you can't
Right.
deal with that via telehealth. A physician needs to be able to look. They need to be able to see, are you dry inside? You cannot tell how dry I am by having a conversation with me over the phone.
Right.
You can't tell if
It's
I'm
not for
having
everybody.
painful sex because I have thick growth
Right.
over the phone.
That's right.
These are things that require examination,
Yep. Yeah.
right?
So it is so complicated, but I really do feel with the work that you've been doing for 4 years, and no doubt will continue to do, that you're going to continue to help open up those doors and create more access for sure. So you have some incredible doctors, advocates, women's stories, I mean, real women telling their stories in this documentary, The M Factor.
Yeah.
So impressive who is involved. I mean, so many of them, the doctors, especially we see on social media,
Yeah.
and the advocates. It's just so wonderful that you've been able to pull so many together, so many great voices. So, what were some of the most surprising or impactful things that you personally discovered as this film was being produced?
There were actually two doctors. One was Dr. Lisa Mosconi,
Oh,
who I know.
incredible.
She's amazing.
She focuses on the brain,
She
everyone.
focuses on the
Yep.
brain. She does research on
Brain
the
health.
brain. And
Mhm.
specifically, she does research around perimenopause and menopause brain.
Right. Sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to point out I'll have a link to her last book, which I very often do link to when I have menopause episodes
Yes.
that we record. I believe it's called The Menopause Brain.
Yes. I think
Her
it is
latest
called
book.
the menopause
Mhm.
brain. Yeah. I mean, she draws a clear link to the brain change. So she shows, and she shows it in the film, how here's a woman pre-menopause. You see, it's like the red, it's all the brain's all fired up. Then you go into perimenopause, and that red is faded all across the brain. And then you go into post, and the red comes back, not for all women. So some women get a better brain, meaning some women who go through perimenopause and come out to menopause, they have the brain of their 20-year-old brain. Some women come, they got the same brain that they went in to perimenopause, they got the same one when they come out. The downside is some women go and they have a significant decline.
Right.
And she's now doing research to see, is this what leads to women, 2/3 of women have Alzheimer's more than men, right? So that was really that connection, that cognitive change that really does happen. Because we all are saying, like, I got brain fog, or I can't remember this.
Yeah, brain
or
fog's a big one.
the mood
Yeah.
swings and all of that sort of stuff. So she definitively shows the change of the brain. And the other person was Dr. Kelly Casperson, who revealed the fact that women who have low libidos cannot get a prescribed testosterone. And that those who are able to get a prescribed testosterone, typically it has to be compounded, that even how testosterone is delivered, right, the packaging, that women don't need that whole package. They actually need only a tenth. But because testosterone isn't prescribed to women, it is not then set up for them to be able to have it. So you've got to go to a doctor like Dr. Casperson in order to get that right amount of testosterone. So the mere fact that women can't get testosterone, but our testosterone, we have it, our testosterone decreases, but we can't get it. I mean, it's back to that patriarchal society that we really live in, that someone made a decision around that based on who knows what that was based on, but women should have access to that. So hopefully we can look at getting a law, a policy change that takes that that barrier away from women not being able to get testosterone treatments.
Absolutely. And there are a lot of myths and a lot of misinformation swirling around, always has been around menopause and women's health in general, of course, as we know. But how do you think the M factor and all this information that will be in it from these really great experts will really help to bust some of those myths?
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to cover things just around the confusion of terminology. There are people who don't know what perimenopause. You and I, we've been talking
That's
about
true.
this for so long. There were just words that come off. We know exactly what they mean when we say them, but people don't know. They don't even know what menopause means, right? Menopause is simply you've gone 12 consecutive months of no period, and the 13th month, you are now considered to be in menopause. I don't believe in a postmenopause because once you're in menopause, that's it. I mean, there's nothing postal about it. I mean, the next level of where you're going to go is you're going to, actually enter stages of aging, right? So once you kind of hit 65, you're going to be in stages of aging, and that's very different.
Just a reminder, you've been on the show before. It's been well over a year when we were talking about a research project that you had done for FemAging. But
Yeah.
And then I remember having this conversation with you exactly because I still call it post, like you're perimenopausal, then you have that day, and then you're postmenopausal for the rest of your life. And then you said, no, it's really this. It's exactly what you just said. It's menopausal. So I have to train myself to have different language. Yeah, you're menopausal then. That's
Yeah,
it. You're menopausal.
we
Yeah.
all
What's
do.
this post business?
What's the post business? Nobody can
Yeah.
define it. If you ask, like even a doctor, what is postmenopause? Like they don't really have an answer. We all just been like using these words that not making sense anymore, right? And so we have to use words that do make sense.
Yeah.
Even like hormone replacement therapy, and now they want to call it menopause therapy. Either way it works. I don't care, but people need to know that it's hormones. So we have, we talk about hormone replacement. The doctors talk about why use it. They talk about the impact of using it.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about sexual wellness and treatments. We talk about how symptoms show up for different women. So we have all these, sort of start off with this montage of how each woman sort of talks about what was the thing that got them the most, right?
Right.
So we also, what I really like is we show the interaction of a physician-patient relationship, right? What should that look like when you go in to see your doctor? And if you're not having interaction like what you see in the film, you need to move on. A lot of times we want to stay with a doctor who we've had for 20 years and maybe the doctor that delivered our babies and we feel really comfortable. But honestly, if they do not have any strategies for you during this time, if they're saying, hey, just, it's only going to be a few years, or they can't they can't have a conversation with you about the varying options. If you decide you want to go compound, even if that's a doctor that's only about FDA approved drugs, they should be able to still have a conversation to you about what pellets are, what compounding are. They should also be able to have a conversation to you about natural. If you decide that you want to do something on a more natural level, like with supplements and vitamins. To me, if you are not going to that doctor who can do that, move on. If you can if you have healthcare that you can afford to do that, move on. Go to these platforms that Geneve or Electra or the M Factor. We're going to put a list of physicians around the country, or the Menopause Society.
I was going to say, I always reference when I'm doing an episode about menopause to go on to what used to be called the North American Menopause Society, but the Menopause Society, and their website is menopause.org. And they do have a list of menopause specialists that they recommend in your area.
Yeah.
But as you pointed out before, unfortunately, there weren't that many.
It's not that many. It's 2,000. So
I actually want to touch on that. I want to touch on that point because this is a very important point, is that we don't have enough doctors out there specializing in menopause, or really, even if they're not specializing in menopause, just have an understanding of menopause. Because very often, if you go out into rural areas, you're going to have a family doctor, perhaps. Those doctors need to know about menopause and can help
Yep.
women,
Yep.
even if they're not specialists per se. So, how do you think the M Factor, this documentary, is going to maybe help to push that along? How do you think that do you think it will?
Yeah, I think it
Is that
will.
your
I think,
hope, I should say?
yeah, the hope is that, we interviewed like lots of patients, lots of doctors, lawyers as well. And we hope this film just becomes really far reaching. We hope that people share with a friend, like, oh, you got to watch this film. And was one of the reasons why we did this film on PBS. You don't have to have Netflix. You don't have to have a Hulu account, an Amazon account, or any of that. Everybody gets PBS, no matter if you're in rural, urban, suburban, you have access to it, which is the reason why we went on that platform. It was important for us that any woman who heard about this film had access to see this film.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And World Menopause Day is October 18th. This
Yeah.
will be premiering on PBS across the country the day before, October
Yes.
17th. So really everybody will be able to see. What if they miss it that day, Denise? How will they be able to see? It'll be just available on PBS?
Yes, so they can go to pbs.org. They can watch the film online under pbs.org. We have a whole landing page and access there. PBS, there are a number of stations that are re-airing it 4 times, kind of back to back over that weekend, right? So they can catch another broadcast. If they miss the actual 17th broadcast, they might be able to catch it that Saturday or that Sunday or the next week. So they should just go to their local station. Like whenever you go online, it pops up your local station and see when the M Factor is being shown.
Yeah, that is so exciting. There will be a link to all of that in the show notes, everyone. So after you listen to this conversation, please check out the links and be sure to watch it. But do you have any other follow-up initiatives or projects planned? Because I know, and I'm sure you all know, this is going to be a hit. This is going to be something that will be watched because there is nothing else like it out there. And women are clamoring for information. We know this.
Yes.
So I'm really very enthusiastically optimistic about this. So what are you thinking about doing as the next stage of this?
So, the biggest achievement that we just did with the film is it's now being turned into a continuing medical education credit for physicians,
Wow.
physician assistants, nurse practitioners, and dentists, where they will receive credit towards the renewal of their license. So all physicians in the country, dentists, have 40 hours every 2 years of education that they have to submit in order to renew that license, to continue the practice. If you do not do this, you do not get to continue the practice in this country. There is no exceptions for any doctor. It doesn't matter how famous they are, who they are, what their specialty is. It is a mandate. And for physicians who might be listening, they can go to FSM as in Mary, B as in boy.org, and they will be able to do it online on October 17th at 1 p.m. Eastern. We're actually having a huge webinar for physicians, nurses, physician practitioners, physician assistants, and dentists to do a live viewing of the film with a discussion that follows. And immediately after that, there's a link that pops up for them, wherever you're at. And boom, you'll get your certificate to renew.
That is incredible, Denise.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, really. Yay to that. Yay. I am so excited. That is great. Okay. Anything else that we should know about? That's pretty big.
It's huge. Yeah. We're working with medical schools right now. We'll be making an announcement in the fall of how medical schools will have this as part of
their curriculum.
For their curriculum.
Their training.
Yeah. So we're
that
really
makes
excited
sense.
about that.
Oh, that's such good work. Really.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what advice do you have for women who, as many do, feel isolated and just don't really want to talk about their menopause symptoms? Like, help them, give us some words of encouragement to help them along with their own personal journeys.
I would say first, watch the film so you can see you're not alone. You'll
Right.
see well-known women who admit and share the challenges that they have. We can get through this. There is no reason to suffer during perimenopause and menopause. Just absolutely. I mean, we're creating a community on the mfactorfilm.com for women who have been silent, who haven't really talked about it, who feel shameful, who feel embarrassed. Go there, you'll discover all kinds of resources. A lot of what we talked about today in terms of there's telehealth resources, there's information on podcasts if you want to learn more, like on this podcast. There are books if you want to read. So we have so much information there. There's no reason to feel that, no reason to suffer. You're not alone. And there's help. And you can have menopause, to me, on your terms. Why not have it on your terms?
Yay. Well said, all of that. Okay, before we wind down and we let you go, because you have a lot going on right now, this thing is about to launch. So I'm so grateful that you joined me at all. But before I let you go, we covered a lot. What are your 3 top takeaways from our conversation today? You want everyone to remember?
I think 1, menopause is a normal transition. It is not a disease. It does not need to be fixed. It just needs to be managed. Having, like I said it before, have menopause on your terms, right? Meaning educate yourself. And when you go into your doctor, know what it is that you want to talk about, not what they want to talk about. And walk out with some kind of action that you are going to put forth. And then find a doctor. I said it earlier, find a doctor who has strategies for you. If you do not find that doctor, you will definitely suffer. And there is no reason to suffer. We've got to, as women, get away from suffrage. And I think the other thing is, these are our best years. These typically, the age at which menopause, perimenopause and menopause comes on is 40s to early 50s, maybe mid 50s. These are our highest earning years.
Yes.
These are our years where, wow, we have a lot of wisdom. We can make fast decisions. We can solve problems quickly. We are valuable to society. So I see these as our best times, not our worst times. I also see this as a moment it's a point in time where all of a sudden our health becomes really important. So why not look at it as a moment to reset, maybe reset relationships, maybe the way you've been dealing with your kids, you don't want to deal with them like that anymore. Look at how do you reset that relationship? Maybe you're with your spouse or your partner, maybe your friendships, right? Maybe your job. So I think it's a good time. It's a midpoint in our life to look at, what do I need to reset?
Yeah.
Maybe it's nothing. Maybe I need to reset how I handle stress.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to reset my sleep patterns. Maybe I need to reset my movement. Maybe I need to reset my food.
Yeah. Hey, you know what, Denise, I often talk about this. I think that people in general should, what I call, reassess. You should reassess every couple of years, because our bodies and our lives are constantly changing. Our relationships are changing, either with people or with our jobs or our community.
Yep.
There's a constant, that's what life is. It's a series of changes. And so you have to reassess everything you just said, like what you eat, how you move, how you sleep, everything. And so I could not agree more, because very often women don't have the time to reassess anything while they're raising kids and working and blah, blah, blah. We all know what that is. And then you do have that, as you pointed out just now, you then do have that time to assess and then continuously reassess. So thank you for that wisdom. I appreciate that.
I just want to make one other point too, is that your menopause journey is going to change, right? Meaning that you might have started off with this level of, say, if you went FDA approved estradiol, but maybe in 2 years, you notice, oh, my symptoms are kind of coming back. So to know that you are constantly sort of calibrating, your body is constantly recalibrating and recalibrating. So going to your point about that constant reassessment of self,
Yes.
do it because that's what's happening to you. Your body is constantly recalibrating. So if you just sort of stay with like going, oh, this isn't working now. Okay, that's right. My body clearly has recalibrated. And now it's time for me to go back to my doctor and let's reassess what it
Right.
is that I'm taking.
That's right. Taking and doing, really everything.
Mm-hmm.
Denise, thank you so
You're
much. I am
welcome.
so
Thank you.
excited for this. I really can't even begin to tell you, having such a personal focus on menopause with everything that I do about aging better. I mean, it's all connected. To have this new documentary coming out is truly just wonderful. And I'm really
Thank
excited.
you.
And thank you for everything that you do.
Of course. Of course.
And I hope you come back soon.
Yes, I will. We're going to all age better.
That's right. Okay. Thanks so much, Denise. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Barbara.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode of Age Better Podcast, please do a few things. First, share it with all your friends and family. Then, subscribe to Age Better wherever you listen to podcasts, including YouTube, so you never miss a single episode. Finally, if you have ideas for topics you want me to cover in a future episode of Age Better, send an email to agebetterpodcast@gmail.com or reach out to me on social media. Until next time, remember this: we can't control getting older, but we can control how we do it. Talk to you soon. Age Better Podcast is a proud member of the Sound Advice Network. Sound Advice, women's voices amplified.